to help you be successful. If you don't know, I'm a state certified instructor. I teach teens and adults. So let's go ahead and get into it. These are the things you need to know. This is a driving skills report. So I want you to look at this and connect and become safe drivers. So number one, do you correctly respond to driving controls? Meaning, are you covering the brake properly as you slow down to a stop? Next, are you accelerating smoothly out of your turns? A lot of beginning drivers don't have proper acceleration out of the turn. And if you don't have proper acceleration out of the turn, you're going to end up holding up traffic. Also, other traffic controls that you need to be aware of are lights. We want to try to get best practice out of all drivers. And when you have best practice out of all drivers, you're going to be successful. Best practice out of all drivers means that you're consistent. You're not tailgating other cars. You have great space. And when you're consistent and have great space, you're going to be very successful. And driving can be very overwhelming. It can be very nerve-wracking. We're just getting out of COVID. So what does this mean? There's a shortage of drivers and instructors. There's a list, an appointment time for the DMV. You can't just walk anymore and say, hey, I want to get my permit. Hey, I want to take my test. It does take time. So you have to be patient with the driver's ed company, whatever company you're going through. You have to be aware of scheduling. There are conflicts. Some companies are using new software. There are glitches in the software. Some companies are doing on pencil and paper. So the best thing to do is communicate with your driver's ed instructor, with the driver's ed company. This is the holiday weekend. People are out of town, they're driving, and talk about driving. The prices of fuel are incredible, over $5.50 a gallon. So on average, I was spending about $100 a week in gas. That's $400 a month. So we all want to rethink how we train, how do we drive, what do we need to do? Let's talk about adverse conditions. This is snow. Right now it's not snowing, but in the summertime, you have a lot of sun glare. And you need to wear glasses to protect your eyes because they are the most valuable from the glare of the sun. Rain is also very tricky too because once it starts raining in the first 3 to 5 minutes, it's the most dangerous time on the road. Why? Because you have oil, gas, transmission fluid on the ground, dirt, debris. It makes a really slick paste. And in that slick paste, you could end up losing control. So you want to reduce your speed. Let's continue. Residential driving on your road test. And when I instruct students, we go into neighborhoods. Neighborhoods are where people don't drive the best way. They're not stopping at signs. They're not analyzing the elements in the neighborhood. That neighborhood element are little kids, people jogging, people cutting their grass. They have headphones on, earbuds in. You as the driver need to take a step back and analyze, what am I doing in this neighborhood? How should I be driving? I like my students to drive about 17, 18 miles an hour. We know the speed limit is 25 in the neighborhood. But that's not always the best way to go because little kids see the car as a little monster, right? That's coming toward them and they freeze and they panic. And when you're backing out of your driveway, I got a couple of really good videos about backing out of the driveway. You got to check your backup camera. You got to look out your back window. You have to look left. You have to look right. You can't rely on a backup camera to get you safely to the promised land. The promised land is you backing out of your driveway, looking because you'll back into a car, you run over a little kid's bike, you won't be safe. So you have to really be very cautious, and backing up is a very dangerous maneuver. So you can't assume anything. You've got to cover that brake, go back up really slow, and look left, look right. Let's talk about driving on a highway. The highway is 55 miles or less. In many areas around the country, they're 55 miles an hour. You're going to have cars going faster than that. You're going to have cars going slower than that. So in your mind as a beginning driver, and that's what this is made for, as a beginning driver, you got to make a decision early on in your driving career. Do I want to drive 60? right? Do I want to drive 70? Do I want to follow a pack of cars? You do not. That is called a wolf pack. A wolf pack of cars is where people are driving very fast at a high rate of speed, and you're going to end up having an accident. So keep space. Take your time. Either drive ahead of the pack or behind the pack. This is how I instruct my students, because I'm giving you tips and best practice so you know what's going on, so you can learn safe driving behavior. I'm the first initial contact. Your parents are the first teachers, by all means. But the second contact is with your state certified instructor. He or she will give you information, give you knowledge to help you become successful. And isn't that what it's all about? Becoming successful, becoming a good driver, developing good habits. Because after your initial contact, you're going to be driving with mom and dad. You're going to be driving with your oldest sister or brother. And when you're driving with your own sister or brother, they may have some really good habits that you want to model, or they may have some really bad habits that you may end up modeling after, right? A bad habit is where you're cutting in and out of traffic really fast. You're not using your blinker. And if you develop those habits, you're going to end up cutting off cars, hitting your brakes really hard, going through an intersection really quick. And that's not how you're supposed to drive. You're supposed to drive smoothly. You're supposed to not cut off drivers. You are supposed to drive with speed, space, and a smile. I call it speed, space, and smile, where you have good space to slow down properly. Because if you slam your brakes, you're going to get rear-ended. If you don't slow down properly, someone else could hit you. So all of those things are extremely overwhelming. And if you learn that way of driving, you're going to end up having an accident, rear-ending someone, being really hard on your brakes. I have a trending video out about brake pads. The brake pads are really thin. So if you keep hitting those brakes really hard, you're going to wear out those brakes. Let's continue on. Driving in moderate in-town suburban traffic. This can be kind of challenging because the speed limit is 55, is 45, is 35. So you always have to be aware of lights that are changing all the time. Many of the counties and communities try to synchronize those lights to help you as a beginning driver not run through the intersection. They have sensors in the ground. So when you're driving, I want you to come up to an intersection. You'll see an orange or yellow circle. There are 3 or 4 of those that are in the ground. Those sensors, when a car goes over, tells the computers to start cycling to get ready to change the light at intersections. When you're driving, guys, and visualize you're driving with me, you're going to look for that crosswalk sign. And if that crosswalk sign is flashing, or you see a countdown timer, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, if you see that timer, then that light's going to start changing. And you got to be prepared for that change and look through the intersection and proceed safely. You never want to slam your brakes because you're going to get rear-ended. You could get broadsided. And intersections are the most dangerous place. Let's talk about driving in a business district. You're going to have delivery trucks coming in and out. They're under a time constraint. Federal Express, UPS, any companies coming in, time is money. So what do you do as a beginning driver? If you see those delivery trucks coming in, be ready for a sudden stop. Change your lane if you can. Back off of the vehicle so you can make good decisions. Drivers want to come in, drop off that package, go to the next. So as an instructor, I tell my students, let's back off a little bit. Let's take our time. Let's keep our space. And when we keep our space, we're going to make really good decisions. So analyze what's going on in there. Driving on expressways and speeds up to 70 miles an hour. Woo, this is the challenge. Beginning drivers usually go under speed on a ramp. It can be very overwhelming. Chicago, Detroit, Los Angeles, Atlanta, Georgia. All of these areas are huge metropolitan areas. You as a driver have to make good decisions and be aware. What is the traffic doing? Are they driving at 60, 70, 75, 80? Obviously, we're not going to drive at a speed limit because it's illegal. In some areas of states, it is 75 miles an hour. Most people drive at speed limit, but on average, they're going 3 to 5 over the limit. As an instructor, I can't say drive over the limit, but I can say drive at a speed that is safe and reasonable for the conditions on the road. What does this mean? Drive at a speed that is legal, drive at a speed that is safe, so you can make good decisions. There are 3 lanes. The lane to the right is the slowest lane. Cars are merging out. If you were in here with me in the car, I would tell you merge out into the first lane, pick up speed on the ramp. I want to see that speedometer going from 55, 60, 65, and I want to see you checking that mirror, looking over your shoulder, and merging out. I don't want to see you jerking the wheel. I don't want to see you hesitating or lifting your foot. A lot of beginning drivers tend to lift their foot and they lose speed. This is one of the most dangerous things, and this is the untold secret. Beginning drivers are scared to merge out. This is dangerous for us, dangerous for other drivers. So when your instructor tells you merge out, listen to what they're saying. Understand what they're saying, because we are trying to teach you best practice. Your instructor should never make you feel uneasy, uncomfortable, or stressed. If they do, then you need to communicate with your instructor, talk to your caregiver and say, listen, I'm uncomfortable with my instructor. Mom, dad, uncle, auntie, we need to talk to the instructor. So there are 2 ways of communication. Communicate with your instructor, ask positive questions, because your instructors are very passionate. You're here looking at my content because I'm passionate. I'm not making this content for me. I'm making this content for you because I want you to be safe. I want you to do a great job. And as you learn, you're going to pick up good tips and tricks to help you be successful. Let's continue answering questions and doing best practice. Next, exiting out. You're going to have to accelerate and do your best work and be aware of what's going on. So that being said, you have to have best practice. Exiting is also very overwhelming, okay? Because you're going at a high rate of speed. If we're in California, we're going really fast on the expressway. Detroit, Chicago, Atlanta, Georgia, it really doesn't matter. You as a driver have to make best practice. You have to do well. And when you do well, you're going to be super successful, okay? And through watching my content and you visualizing, hey, I'm here with my instructor, you're going to look through the lens of a beginning instructor and do well and do your best work. That being said, be super successful. Be aware of what's going on and rise to your best by asking questions. Your instructor wants to help you. I'm a very social instructor. I draw pictures, I do tutorials, and that's going to help you become a really safe driver. Let's talk about changing lanes in traffic. That's very scary because you have to take your eyes off the road for a moment. You got to look over your shoulder. You've got to check your mirror. You might have to accelerate, deaccelerate, keep your speed. And I think a lot of beginning drivers just hesitate. And when you are hesitating, that's when you're most vulnerable. We don't want you to be vulnerable. We, meaning me as an instructor, looking through the lenses of a beginning driver, we want to model best practice. What is that? Mirror, turn signal, blind spot. You look over your shoulder, there's a gap, you accelerate through the gap. You don't lift your foot, you don't cover your brake. A lot of beginning drivers tend to do that, okay? Let's talk about passing other vehicles. You're gonna have to be able to accelerate past other vehicles and do that safely. So this means you gotta look over your shoulder, you gotta pick up speed, and through looking over your shoulder and picking up speed, you'll be able to get into that space safely, and you wanna see the car in your mirror, okay? And when you see the car in your mirror, it's safe to make that lane change. Let's continue. Stopping and accelerating, you never wanna slam your brake. If you're slamming your brake, you're gonna end up losing points, upsetting the balance of the car, and your instructor will say, wow, my student does not have control of the car. My teenager does not have control of the car. My adult does not have control of the car. As an instructor, I want to create a safe learning environment for you to thrive, not survive, but thrive and really do your best. Okay. And that's really important to me because if you struggle, I struggle. If you do well, I do well. It is a two-way street. And I want you to understand that. I want you to do well. And I have to see you being successful. That is the key to really doing your best in driver's education. Visual checks. Intersections are the most dangerous place. You have to look left. You have to look right. A lot of beginning drivers hesitate because they're so overwhelmed. Take a moment, step back, talk to your instructor, tell them how you feel. Always try to ask questions. I have a dead sense of humor. I really want you to do well. And when you look through my content, you're going to look at different driving situations and gather from those, whether it's driving through a neighborhood, driving in a downtown business district, going out, merging onto traffic, look at how the steering wheel's turned, listen to the visual clues that I'm giving you, because you have to look around. You've got to check your mirror. I'm checking my mirror. You've got to look left. You have to look right. Eye movement is so critical to you being successful. And when you look around, you're going to avoid many dangers. Space management. You've got to search. I'm in a neighborhood. What are the dangers? Little kids riding bikes, people jogging, people not paying attention. Neighborhoods are the most dangerous place. 25 miles or less away from home, you drive fast, you drive reckless, you don't wear your seatbelt. You've got to slow your roll down. Take your time. Why are you flying in the neighborhood? Not necessary, okay? Evaluate what is going on in the environment. Are people out cutting grass? Is it the 4th of July and their fireworks, right? That's around the corner. So you got to be really careful. Execute. Are you stopping? Are you going to the right? Are you going to the left? Are you reversing and turning around, doing a 3-point turn? You got to be able to execute those things. Let's talk about parking. Parallel parking is the big elephant in the room. You've got to line your car up straight. You got to turn your wheel all the way to the right, get that rear of the car in at a 45 angle. Then turn it back all the way to the left. You will be in that parallel parking spot. I wear size 14. What do? I open my door on the passenger side because I'm an instructor, and I show you, hey, you're about a foot away. That's passing. On your road test, you have cones, and I'll be making some tutorials on that. So you really have to be aware of how you park, where you park, and are you legally parked? Okay, you don't want a ticket, and you don't want your car damaged. Backing, and we're in here. You got to be able to look out your back window, look over your shoulder. Do not trust your backup camera. That's only going to give you one dimension. You need to look over your shoulder left and right. You need to cover your brake. You have to take your time. And when you take your time and evaluate what's going on, you won't back in anything. Backing is extremely dangerous. So let's review. I'm a state certified instructor. I teach teens and adults. I'm very passionate about driver's education. If this brought you value, subscribe to my channel. Leave a comment. You will learn best practice. I'm very social. I'm looking to interacting with you. And I wanted to say thank you so much. Bye.